Have fun. Coach D.
What's up, Jei'Mar?
We are back.
We are.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm just all right. I'm here to inspire, create, and empower, and I'm going to do it from the perspective of being really uncomfortable.
Hey, you know. Oh no, go. Keep going. Go, go, man.
Well, listen. I mean, I'm vested in a better way. I'm excited to be in a position to experience things in a way that they're presented, and I'm having trouble. The best analogy that I could come up with, at least right now, is that it feels like I'm trying to get clean in muddy water, and it doesn't matter how hard I try. It just seems like after every hill there's another hill, and I want to come on here and be like, this is what you do, and here's the answer, and this is the episode that we're going to wrap things up. This is the inception of the first 3 series of Vested. And I think that I needed this time to be able to kind of figure out who I am through this camera so that I can share myself with everybody out there that's paying attention. And if I'm going to be totally vulnerable and honest, life is you're supposed to look at it and you're supposed, that's not hard. These are challenges that are here for me to grow, and I'm going to get better. And even though it doesn't feel great, I'm going to turn it into something, and I'm going to be the phoenix that rises. But sometimes part of that just is feeling this sucks and accepting that. I mean, it doesn't matter how much I pray, it seems like, it doesn't matter how much I meditate. I'm inspired to continue to push forward because I know that what I'm feeling right now is something that I will move away from. And it's something that won't always be this way. So, Jei'Mar, I'm not really inspired to do much right now. I need to
Hey, listen. Hey, there's motivation and then there's intention, right? The motivation is where we get that feeling and we feel motivated to follow through with the intention. The intention is when we set out with the intent to do something. We don't always have our motivation, our feelings, and the intention in the same alignment. And right now with what we're doing here, we're launching this platform and we just want to tell everyone out there that we love you. We're only here to give. And that's our heart. Our heart is to give to the people, to inspire, to create, empower. But like what Coach D is saying, in life, we're not always going to have that feeling to follow through with what we're intending to do, the intention. But as leaders, we must fight through that and still move forward. So, Coach D, how are you still moving forward right now? Because, we're at episode 3, right? Wrapping up the inception intro. As you know, we're tightening up every week. We're getting more and more tight, streamlined, tightening things up. We got the mics rolling. We're going to have better audio next week. Everything's going to get better and better and better as we build this. But you're going to be vulnerable, Coach G. I'm going to be vulnerable. And we're going to be real to let people know that you still got to fight no matter what happens. You got to make your adversity your advantage. So, D, right now, how are you making your adversity your advantage?
I guess it's story time because now it's time to share my adversity. I live with my 85-year-old grandfather, and this last week, he took a spill, which 85-year-olds do. I mean, I take spills. I'm in a chair. I mean, when your body doesn't work, eventually it's going to fall out of the chair. You have to figure out what to do with it. But when the wheels hit the pavement and you actually run into a vulnerable, scary, unfortunate situation that you have to move through, there's no right way to do it other than being ready for whatever moment's going to pop up. And I knew that this was going to happen at some point with an aging grandfather. But when he fell, the way it worked out is that he was in perfect alignment so that as I was coming down my hall, I could see him on the floor. He smashed this up pretty good, and his eye was bleeding, and his mouth was bleeding, and we didn't know how bad it was. And when he tried to roll over, he screamed, so we thought he might have broke his shoulder. So we called 911 and got him into the ER, and I recognized in the moment that there I was. I knew that something was going to happen. I didn't know when, I didn't know how. I knew that I wanted to be there for him when it did. And I also knew it was going to be difficult. And I faced just with as much strength as I could. But then when he was laying there looking up at me, I had an opportunity in that moment to find within myself something special, which was grace, because somehow we got through it in a way that he was scared, really scared. And somehow in that moment, we found a way by connecting with each other. And that's what we're here to do on the show, to take an uncomfortable moment and transmute it into something better. And we sang Ring Around the Rosie while we waited for the ambulance to show up. And he was smiling, and I looked at him. I was like, look, man, I mean, we were supposed to go to Venice today, and you just took a pretty serious digger on the floor, and you really screwed up our plans. And we laughed. And there I was, paralyzed, and there he was, 85, in a vulnerable moment, waiting for the ambulance, bleeding. And we were laughing. That's just trying to be inspired. I don't know.
Well, you look at it, D.
It's heavy, dude.
It's heavy. You okay? You know, you look at what you're talking about with that real life example that just happened this week with you and Grandpa. And you think about right now where we're at. You know, today's August 6th, 2020. 8 months, 7 months and some change going into 2020. You know how many people feel like Grandpa right now?
Yeah.
You know how many people out there who are down, bleeding, hurt, stuck, can't move, panicked?
It doesn't matter if it's physical paralysis or emotional or financial.
Right.
You know, when you feel strapped down like that, like, you got to find a way to sing, and it's just not going to feel better. It's just not. Like, there's just something about getting through stuff that just sucks, that the point of it is that it sucks and that you find the strength to push through it. And in that moment, it might not be this amazing thing, but you never know when you get an opportunity to completely turn suffering into something amazing. I'm trying to do that now. In this moment, I'm offering complete vulnerability to an internet full of people. And in the first episode, we had 4 people watch. In the second episode, we had 33 people watch. And I guess it doesn't really matter how many people are watching, but what matters is how many people feel that what we're going through is difficult, and we're all doing it together from our own perspective. And we're all kind of completely overwhelmed. So the inspiration in this moment comes from the idea that I know that as hard as it is right now, that I have this strength in me to get through it, and that I believe in myself, and I believe in the people around me, and I believe that somehow, and I don't know what it looks like, somehow I'm going to find a better way because I'm making it better. Because in the moment when it sucks, I found a way to sing. I found a way to laugh.
You know, it's in every challenge, there's a greater, in every seed of adversity, there's a greater blessing. There's a light, there's a reason. And you look at this as us being leaders, you know, because I look at you as a leader, and I'm a leader. And our goal here is to encourage other people, to inspire other people to be leaders and recognize that they are leaders. But you look at that moment in time with you and Grandpa, you were that light source there with him at that moment, right? You were there to be a light in some capacity in that moment. And so right now, that's what we got to do as people, despite being in a situation where we may not be able to do anything for that person physically, but we can still be the light for them. We can still love on them, and we can still let them know we're there, and we can still support them and encourage them and let them know that we're there with them right now. You know, and what's happening in the world is people, there's a lot of things happening that's creating division, right? And our goal, our message here is that we must stay unified, right, as people. So Dee, talk about, for you, you know, we're wrapping up this series of Inception. You know, what have you seen this year happening from your perspective in the world and where we're at economically, nationally, globally? And what are your thoughts, man?
If we want to stick with the theme of tough to get clean in muddy water, I think that there's a lot of muddy water. There's a lot. And I think that the more we're focused on the idea that we can't necessarily see what's going on, the harder it is to wade through the water. And I think the more we tend to scurry about and struggle, the harder it seems to be. So we're in this time where we have this opportunity to be able to develop knowledge and to be able to gather what we have around us, ideas and emotions wise, and come up with something brilliant. And I think that a lot of people, myself included, are finding it very difficult because we do have these ideas and these emotions that we want to pursue, these thoughts that are awesome. But there's also all this other stuff that we've been using to kind of hide from ourselves, if you would. These patterns of behavior, of thoughts that we utilize to feel false comfort. Because when we're experiencing it, we might get in the moment like, okay, I feel great, but is it because we're doing that when we should be doing something else? And is this just nothing more as other than a speed bump? So I think that we need to watch out for that as we move through these difficult times. We have these ideas that we want to capitalize on and move forward with, but there's all this other stuff that we let get in the way. And we know that the water's murky. We know that if we move around too much, that it's going to be more difficult. And we're still struggling to kind of find balance with putting one foot in front of the other. So I'm pretty, I don't know. I want to look at you. I want to look at everybody and I want to say, oh, I'm so inspired because I really, truly am. But it feels so much different than what I expected. I have this narrow focus of once I, and it feels good to know that I have purpose. It feels good to be pursuing something so real, like to inspire and create and empower people, but to do it vulnerably and to look at this camera and be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I can't do it, dude. I can't. I don't have that with me right now. What I have is this. I have total vulnerability. I have on the verge of breaking down, didn't really want to get in front of this camera tonight, but I'm here. And that's what makes me great in this moment when I'm not, because I feel beat up. I feel like it's just never going to stop. I feel that it's always going to be hard, but I know it's not. I know it. And the reason I do is because I keep pushing. And the evidence is me in front of this camera. So I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep trying. And I am succeeding in doing it. So I know success will follow. So that's my advice. That's my feeling. That's my thought. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I'm sharing what I have in the moment for people to take however they want. And I'm giving it my all, and I will continue to do so. That's what I got.
D.
That's what I got.
Man, our goal is to do our best. And as long as we do our best, that's all that matters. You know, our best is going to fluctuate. And right now you're doing your best you can. And we're here together in this space because there's people out there who are listening to you who they don't feel like doing their best for whatever reason.
Well, let's move on to creation then. Jei'Mar, I mean, here I am in front of the camera and here we are being totally vulnerable. But talk to me a little bit about having your emotions being out of control and finding value in using that energy to create something. I mean, give me an example of how adversity might have empowered you or to create something. Like, we're talking about creation right now. Tell me about how you're going to take this mess of energy and turn it into something great. Like, Give me an example from your life. What do you think? What's your answer?
Oh man. Hey, listen. So real quick, let's just look at the definition real quick. I got boom right here. Look at this. Create. Bring something into existence. Create. Bring something into existence. So you want to talk about vulnerability, man. You want to look at just where we're at, because we're talking about this time, because this is the time we're in, the COVID reflection. You know, going back into March when this thing all started to really get ramping up. You know, personally, I went through about a 2.5 week funk, a 2.5 week processing, a 2.5 week. I couldn't explain it. If you saw me physically, you would think I'm the same. But if you opened up my heart and my spirit, you would have known that there's something's just not right. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I was processing. I was adjusting from all of a sudden, boom, things were totally shifted in our universe, right? You know, not being able to connect with people, not being able to go and live life. And all of a sudden things are changing. And then you got media throwing fear bombs left and right and people panicking and no toilet paper. Come on. Who started that? Why would you take all the toilet paper? Man, I mean, come on. But there were so many things that were going on. And I was processing and I was feeling. I remember there's a few days, man, I just stayed home and laid around. And I'm not a stay-at-home, lay around kind of guy. I mean, I rest and like I believe in rest and recharge, but you know what I mean? That's not like my pattern of operation. But man, I was laying around and I didn't. You want to talk about not feeling inspired, man? My inspiration was gone. And then I snapped out of it. And so going through that created this now hyper focus. Like, oh shoot, like that was real. Like that was the darkness. Like that was like that was the gravitational pull of all these events that I cannot control. And so what it created in me is like, you know what, this is where I have to drop the hammer and accelerate higher. And so you look at just 2020 for every single person, right? The flu that, not to diminish the challenge, but the flu that turned into a global pandemic. And then we have these situations where our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, you got one challenge, the next, you know, someone lose their life out there in the streets with law enforcement. All of a sudden it triggers this global race war. Now we're fighting a pandemic. Now we got a race war coming on. Then you got the business, the stock market, everything's getting crushed. People are losing money. People thought they were going to be retiring, selling the sunset, just crushed 20, 30, 35% of their life savings. Then you got businesses who, we are a business nation. The whole nation thrives on business, shut down, stopped. Then you have the highest unemployment rate, 40, 50, 60 million people unemployed. People don't even have enough money to make it 30 days. Right? That's real talk. And so all this is happening. All this is going on. And man, you know, I have such an attitude of gratitude, man. You know, there's people out there who are that feeling that I felt in those few weeks. Man, that's real.
Jei'Mar, okay. So I think a lot of fear comes from the violation of expectation. And I think that a lot of what's going on right now is that it's hard to know which way to turn. I mean, you talk about this pandemic. A couple of months ago, you turn on the news and the news is talking about 6, 8, 10 weeks and quarantine, this and that. And then, like you said, that we got these fear bombs coming in and now we're going in a different direction with this race drama. Where does all this fit in relationship to how, when your expectation of how life, you think at least, is supposed to pan out fails? What do you do? Like you said, you have that 2 weeks. and you went through this stuff that was a little bit uncomfortable. But my question to you is, how are we supposed to create from this space of pretty much total chaos because of all this expectation that's been violated? I mean, what do we even know to do now? Like, how do you even expect anything at this point? And was that the problem in the first place?
Well, that's the whole point, is that through this adversity, we get clarity. Through the adversity, we get the clarity. And so you think about the year of 2020 vision. See, people didn't know that as the muddy water came, they didn't know that the muddy water is what is stimulating the clarity. See, we go back to the word create, bring something into existence. The reason why we call it the COVID reflection, because right now you got more people in the entire world who are reflecting on some part of life or multiple parts of their life right now. And through that reflection, they're creating something and bringing it into existence. And that might be more darkness, more fear, more doubt, or it might be power and increase and focus and growth and stretching, expansion and learning. See, this environment is creating, giving us the opportunity to bring into existence more, either more light or more darkness. This is a creation time right now for everyone, whether they know it or not, whether we know it or not. Like I said, you said, how's it impacted me, man? This is the time. This ain't the time to play in the kiddie pool, the muddy water kiddie pool. It ain't the time. This is the time to stretch, to grow, to expand, to embark on new journeys, to do something new in this environment that you've never done, like we're doing right here.
So let's talk about
time to create
this space. Well, like I said, I mean, I went from getting real personal, okay, about sharing a story about my grandfather and some of the stuff that I struggled with going through this week, and I share that in my bedroom and online, and I just put it out there to be in this rah inspiration, create, and empower guy. Like, I want to know what the middle ground looks like. I want to hit people with something real that you can swallow that might be interesting, but at the same time, there's just, I feel like in the world right now, there's a lot of fluff, or there's really good information done wrong, so you don't know how to receive it. So if I want to try to avoid expecting anything, expecting somebody to just come in and make it better, if I'm going to take responsibility for my own thoughts, my own actions, and my own feelings, how am I going to utilize the energy of this discomfort right now to be able to put it into motion so that what comes through this camera is of value for those that are listening to it? Other than being 100% who I am and following positive thoughts to continue to push forward and to get in front of this thing and keep doing it. I don't know any other way. Jei'Mar, we're doing it and we're moving forward and we're creating right now in this moment. We're creating the final episode of our Inception series. And though it feels good to be creating stuff, I'm still juggling all this discomfort. So what I noticed when I started meditating is that it was almost like if there was a chalkboard with a bunch of math equations all over it, that somebody were to come in and clean the chalkboard off. And then you have a completely free chalkboard to put anything on it that you want. And I didn't realize that I had so much all over my board before I started meditating. And then when I started meditating, I recognized that that extra space was a place to be able to create something, anything. And it was weird because I wasn't used to having that extra space. I'd go there and usually I freak out there. And now all of a sudden, since I've cleared my thoughts a little bit and I have the ability to have new thoughts and new emotions, I didn't know what to do with it because all of my programming was all dialed in to think and act and feel certain ways. So when I cleared this space and now, all right, man, I'm ready, I'm centered. Let's go do something with these new, this new, woo. I didn't know what to do with it. And there was even an anxiety that kind of came with this empty space. And then slowly, I guess I started to implement habits that were positive, and I started to implement thoughts that were a little bit more interesting to pursue. What would you say right now? I mean, there's no general way to inspire people to kind of go out and do that, but like, how would you suggest that people approach this pandemic of chaotic thoughts, and how can we move towards having thoughts that we can utilize this energy to create something, even if it's not exactly what we want right now, but something that's worth moving forward towards in the future? What would you say?
What's the expectation? What is the expectation of what of where we want to end up? I think that we have to reverse engineer in order to get to where we're going. And so what my point is that if we don't expect to win, how are we going to embark on the journey to win?
You know, dude, this is where I get caught up. This is where Damien, the competitor, gets caught up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an athlete, so my focus has always been on, all right, win. I want to win. I want to win. I want to win. And I set my mentality on the win. And how am I supposed to stay focused on the idea that as much as we're going to progress and accomplish what it is that we want, that I don't get distracted with the ego of pushing towards needing to win in a certain way? Because I think that's what I'm struggling with. My mind tells me that my old expectations were, this is how you win. This is what success is. So how am I supposed to have thoughts that I don't even have? How do I have thoughts to win in a way that I don't even know exists?
See, winning means something is different for everyone. Just like success is different for everyone. You know, having that reverse engineering of, okay, what is our expectation right now? If someone's expecting defeat, if they're expecting lack, if they're expecting pain, they're expecting sickness, what do you think is going to happen? That somehow, some way, the universe is going to move. Things are going to move towards that expectation, that subconscious expectation. So you're talking about the thoughts, like we may not know how we're going to get to the checkered flag, the end zone, victory, but we know that's where we want to go. We know we want to get better. We know we want to grow. We know we want to learn. We know we want to go to the next level. It's not always going to be clear of how to get there. That's why we got to move. So as we move, the road starts to appear, Coach D. So we always don't have, what does that look like? There's no way, we talked about this last time, to see the end zone from the starting zone. We just got to go.
Jei'Mar, this is where I'm hung up though, bro. Like, because here I am going and I expect to win and I expect for things to change and I expect for the feeling to eventually feel good. Fake it till you make it, or just do till it is. But as I'm going, where I get tripped up and where I get thrust into old thoughts and old programming is that when I'm believing that it's going to be believing, because that's what it takes. I really believe that this show will offer value. I really believe that my perspective and Jei'Mar's perspective and Rebecca's skill set, like, we offer value. But with 4 viewers, with 33 viewers, with this chaotic life that I have to put on a mask when I go into Target and I can't even breathe. I'm in it, you know, and I just, what I'm getting at is I do expect to win. I feel like I'm moving towards being a champion because I'm stacking small wins. But no matter how many small wins I seem to stack, I still have to wear a mask. And no matter how many small wins I stack, I'm still doing this from a wheelchair. No matter how many small wins I stack, I couldn't physically pick my grandfather off the ground. And I'm looking at this from the perspective of, I know what I'm capable of. I know what my goals are. But all of that stuff that I still have to deal with still sucks. And no matter how I look at it, it's not exactly something that I would desire. So I'm using my thoughts and emotions to push me through, to develop strength in the moment. But at night when I lay down in bed, my thoughts find a way to elude me. And I have a strange feeling that most of the people that are watching this, when they're in the shower or right before they go to sleep or right after you wake up, what's there? I found myself meditating because when these times come, as much as I program all my actions to support this belief that I have, I still have these thoughts. And I'm now to the point where I'm not even frustrated anymore with what's going on in the moment. I'm frustrated that I have the thoughts and that I know I'm moving in the direction that should support happiness. And if that's the case, then why do I still have these thoughts, Jei'Mar? Why do I still have these programs in the background that are running that are telling me to give up, that are telling me that this sucks? I mean, and I'm supposed to create from this perspective? It's like, yeah, I mean, here we are. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, inspire, create, empower. But like, I'd be lying to you in this show where we're supposed to be vulnerable if I didn't share with you that I'm still struggling, man. And that I am an inspirational person and I am a leader because here I am in front of this camera. But man, I'm just showing you my bones right now that this is very hard and I'm not going to pretend like it isn't. And, you know, I guess lots of people in the past, they get in front of a camera and like, oh, here we go, you know, TV show. And it's like, I don't know, man. That's why I'm inspired to create something different. I'm inspired to kind of just lay this down and see where it goes.
Well, you look at what D, your coach D, but your brother D just said diamonds are created under pressure, right? So you look at everything we're talking about right now, where with the extreme pressure, whether it's external pressure or the internal pressure, whether it's the heat, the pressure, the resistance. See, a diamond is not created as a diamond. It has to go through this process. And I truly believe that God created all of us to be diamonds. We're all diamonds. You ever come to our leadership class and that's one of the affirmations. We are diamonds. But we have to go through that process. And that process is different for everyone. So all you're doing right now, Coach D, is talking about the pressure, talking about the heat. And that's the beauty of it. There's no way that we can become what I believe God created us to be without going through the extreme pressure, whether it's external or internal. I think a lot of times, though, when you're asking about these thoughts, because we have previous patterns of operation. See, a neurological pathway is the way these neurons, the neurons that fire together, wire together. And so you're saying, Jei'Mar, why do I still have these thoughts? Because we're human beings, man. We're human beings. We have 60, 75,000 thoughts a day that are firing. We have patterns that we've already created. And so for us to course correct, to pivot, to shift, to continue to become the diamond, we have to unlearn what we learned. We have to reprogram. And it's just part of the journey. It's part of the game. But without that pressure that's created, we will never become those diamonds. And so, D, I mean, you know, what you're talking about, man, I mean, every single person out there can talk about the pressure they feel right now, whether it's emotional pressure, whether it's financial pressure, whether it's spiritual pressure, emotional pressure, physical pressure. Remember, those are the 5 pillars. Everything has to do with one of those pillars. However you break it down, when you get down to the root, it has something to do with one of those pillars. So, D, what I hear you saying, man, you're at the right place at the right time.
You know, I had a friend.
Yeah, come on.
I had a buddy that said that gold and silver, the reason that you have to melt them at such high temperatures is because that's what it takes to be able to refine such a precious metal.
Come on.
And he was explaining that if you want to be a precious metal, you have to be willing to deal with the heat. And I don't mean to complain, but it's just really hot, man.
Hey, you know, it's not a complaint. It's a real talk, bro. You know, the only reason I'm here with you is because of you.
No, it's because of you. It's a coin flip, buddy.
No.
I wouldn't do a show with you. I hate to break it to you.
My point is, I look at you. You're such an inspiration for me. I'm a man of inspiration. I am the inspirer So when I feel inspiration, it's very important for me to acknowledge that.
Well, I feel that, man. That's why I'm here. Like, I felt something special, and that's what we're here doing. I want to move on to our third topic, as we will with this show, of empowerment, because this is a good transition. Jei'Mar, in the color of what it is that we've been speaking about today, I want to.
Are you getting racist on me, bro?
Oh, you see how I did that? We're going high. I'm not short, bro. I'm 6 foot.
Just
watch out.
Oh my. Keep going, man.
All right, man.
Add some color in there, man.
May as well, right?
Lighten it up.
That's up, baby. All right.
Bring out the rainbow.
All right, Jei'Mar. Just plain and simple. And I guess we glazed over it in our conversations up to this point so far. But how do you feel like suffering can lead to empowerment? Just cut and dry. How does suffering lead to empowerment?
We have to always start at the foundation. Empower. Give someone the authority or power to do something. Empower means give someone the authority or power to do something. I think a lot of times when we are in a suffering or a challenging place, that ignites power, because we come to the point, the decision, like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to experience this. I don't want to feel this. And then power is created. It doesn't always happen. But there's some people that run faster towards the gold medal, the finish line. And there's other people that run faster when they're being chased by a lion. So it just depends, how can that suffering empower? It depends on the person. But I believe that going through that suffering, right? And suffering is part of that diamond creation process. But going through that challenge, that heat, that pressure, some people are going to get empowered through that because they don't like where they're at.
Well, let's talk about this, because for the longest time, we empowered our government to run this country, and we empowered the police to be able to run our towns, and we empowered our city councils to be able to create laws. And I think for the most part that we as humans have done a pretty good job with most of this. And I saw something on the internet the other day, and I might have talked about it in our other show, that said something like there was a activist and the mother of a police officer having a conversation online. And they were going back and forth, and she said something like, most police officers are here to do good and to make the world a better place. And the activist said, see what you did. You said most, which means that, yeah, you're right at about 90, 95%, but that means the other 5% is killing people. And I just think we can do better. So I don't think that we should continue to disregard the idea that we need reform, but we should also at the same time understand that there's a learning curve. But at a certain point, you got to put your foot down and say, listen, we do need government. We do need councils. We do need the police force, but we got to find a way to be able to do it in a way that feels a little bit better, because for whatever reason, this out of balance thing has become something that we need to look at. And I think that a lot of this reflection time has made us assess some of the stuff that we've just come to agree to accept as being normal. We're reevaluating that now. And I think that the process of everybody's grieving of what they thought it once was needs to involve patience, because it's not easy coming up with new thoughts that you don't already have. And in order to be able to empower entire organizations like the government or the police, we're going to have to be able to find it's somewhere in us to be patient with the idea of reform, because the reform is going to look completely different than anything we've ever seen. And it's going to come from us and our discomfort, because we're going to have to take what worked before, and we're going to have to be able to review it and recognize what we were very successful at, but more importantly, to be able to find out where the holes in the boat were so that we can patch them so that everything doesn't sink. Because as you mentioned before, this is so much more than just a cold or a race war. We're being hit from every angle. And I think that the answer, at least in the interim, until things come together collectively again, is to be able to empower yourself from within. You got to look at this stuff, and you got to be able to accept what's happening. And
there's the Coach D I know right there.
This is like, oh man, I'm tireless.
Come on.
I don't want to do anymore. I think everybody's there. I think everybody doesn't want to suffer anymore. Everybody doesn't want to struggle. And what I'm really trying to do is, instead of looking at it saying, I don't want, I'm saying, this is what it is. And I know I have it within me to move through it. And I'm trying to find a way to accept this discomfort, even though I don't like it, even though I don't want it. I'm trying to find a way to be able to move through it with power and strength that I don't have, because I do have it. I do have it. It's within me. And where that lies is the thought. It lies that I have strength here. And if I can take this strength and bring it here into my chest and turn it into passion, then I can move through difficult experiences with power and strength. And I can use that to empower myself. And in doing so, I can, one drop of water at a time, add to this body of water. And I know that in pushing with that type of effort, that each drop that I put into that bucket is clean, is clear, and is pure. And if we put enough clear water into that bucket, all of a sudden, the murkiness in that water is going to settle to the bottom. And all of a sudden, we're going to have clean water again. And we can start believing in each other. We can start believing in the people that we're empowering. We can start understanding that our government is just like us, and they screw up just like we do, and they make decisions just like we do. And the same goes for our city councils. But you know what? Every single one of them, whether it's evil or whether it's just because they felt like it and selfish or greed, no matter what, everybody's going to have to look at themselves right now and decide who they are and who they want to be and how we're going to move through this. And if you have purity within you and you find purpose behind your actions and your thoughts and your emotions, then you can take that and you can share it with other people. Or you can choose the thought to suffer continually, and you can continue to invite the same ideas and emotions into your mind and heart that give you this result that equals uncomfortable. Or you can choose to change. And just know that when you choose to change, you got to be all in, because it's not easy. When you get used to something, when you get comfortable, when your mind is used to firing on this pathway of, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, it's difficult taking yourself to the gym when you're 30 pounds overweight and you're going to wake up tomorrow morning, you're going to be sore. And man, my everything is sore. My body, my mind, my soul, everything's sore, because I have let myself get comfortable in certain areas where I probably should have just drank more water, got good sleep, had a smoothie, and went to the gym. So that's better. And I think that it's not just one thing, Jei'Mar, that we got to line up. It's a lot, and it's difficult, and it's going to take people like the light bearers, like the inspirers, like yourself, man, to be
like us, like everyone watching this. Come on.
Hey, bro, here I am, the Inspire guy. I'm telling you, like, I enjoy doing this. I believe that there's purpose behind everything that's going on. But the best part about this show is that I get to get up here and be totally vulnerable and to look at people and go, happiness involves a lot of discomfort. And just because there's times that you struggle and there's issues that you have trouble dealing with and that you might stumble and fall, that's part of happiness. There's no such thing as perfection. Nobody bats 1,000 in life. And when you get knocked down, man, it's the grit that you use to get back up.
Get up.
Yeah, man. It's going to be your strength. Sometimes you're not going to feel it. And Jei'Mar, when I got on this episode today, man, I got in front of this guy. I did not feel it, but I feel it now. I feel it because I know I'm making it.
I feel that you feel it.
Hey, man, we got to look for things in life, I guess, man. Even the empowerers. We got to find a way to be able to fill up our tank. And we got to put ourselves in situations where we're around people that make us want to be better. My wife makes me want to be better every day. And man, there's some times, dude, where we just get in arguments and we fight. And,
Tech team, what's up?
Dude, and it's like, and it doesn't look like it's going to work, but in some mangled way, it finds a way to be able to pan itself out, because there's truth behind it, because there's honesty and there's purity, and because there's real love. And when you work through it, you got to understand that you're going to run into your issues, man. But at the end of the day, if you truly believe in something, a person, a cause, an experience, and you give your all to it with grace, that is the reflection that you will get back in your life, is grace. You can continue to choose karma, or you can choose karma, and that's a coin flip. And sometimes it'll end up in your favor, and then other times you're going to have to learn from discomfort. And I think that a lot of the thoughts and emotions that I might have let myself have or be programmed with up to this point I didn't necessarily monitor them in the way that I should have, with the stern discipline of integrity that I know I have within me. Because if I would have done that, then I wouldn't be struggling with my thoughts and emotions as much as I am right now. If I would have taken a little bit more action and wouldn't have kicked back with fear or discomfort up to this point, then maybe I would be experiencing something different. But honestly, that doesn't matter, because that's not what I'm experiencing. What I'm experiencing is the opportunity to learn and to get better and to push through the discomfort to be able to live a feeling that is better. And I live that now. I in this moment, I'm living that now.
Exclamation point here on empower. Make stronger or more confident, especially in controlling your life and claiming their rights. And you think about it, D, there's things that are going to happen that don't feel so good that empower us. So here's the question for you, Vested community. What is empowering you? D, I love you, bro. Another week. We'll be back next Thursday. Same time, same station, every station, going global. Inspire, create, empower. Here's the question. Are you vested? We love you, D.
Oh,
damn. Woo. It's a wrap.
That's it.